You're watching The 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive, hosted by Kevin Britton, right here on Stadium Drive Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive. If you're new to the channel, I am your host, Kevin Britton, bringing you all your Chiefs content every Sunday and every Wednesday right here on Stadium Drive Sports. Be sure to subscribe, click the little bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future content here on the channel, because not only do we talk Chiefs on this channel, we also talk Royals. Speaking of the Royals, I do have a special guest on the show today. He is the host of The Royal Way here on Stadium Drive, giving you all of your Royals content every Monday and every Thursday. He is the host of The Royal Way, Sean Barr.
Hey, what's going on? I'm ready to rock and roll during this episode.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing today, Sean?
Doing good, man. The weather's getting better. The only problem is we're still stuck with that lockout, so not much news there except for maybe that Derek Jeter news was kind of interesting, talking about how he just dipped out. He just quit, right in the middle of these negotiations. He owns 4% of the Miami Marlins, which equivalates out to about $40 million. It's kind of a small chunk compared to what they're worth or whatnot, but it's a big chunk when you look at it from a fan's perspective. Yeah. And even from a player's perspective, when you think about it too, and that's when they're doing these negotiations during this lockout, that's kind of what we're looking at. You're looking at big corporate money, big television money versus people who's just trying to get paid.
Absolutely. Even when the MLB is locking everybody out, Sean, the door at the 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive is always open for you. Feel free to come on in anytime and join us, all right?
Oh, absolutely. Hey, now that my baseball season has kind of come to a hiatus, kind of a halt right there, I can go over there and switch over to some football. Besides, hey, you know what? To tell the truth, kind of like football a little bit more. But don't tell the Royals Empire that.
We will keep that between us. Make sure if you guys join us on the Combo Show, which you can catch live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Time, or we have a recorded episode that posts on Friday as well. Make sure you keep that secret so Royals Empire doesn't hear about that. So we'll just keep that between us. We got your back, Sean. But today it's time to start diving in a little bit, guys. So today we're going to be taking a look at wide receiver and linebacker options in free agency, as well as early rounds of the draft. So now we can start to really transition this focus and looking at specific individuals that we should be having our eye on. Now, before we do that, I do have a quick segment to jump into, so I'll let you guys go ahead and take a look. All right, guys, let's go ahead and hop right into it today. We're going to start off by looking at free agent wide receivers that the Chiefs could be eyeing to bring in to fill that number 2 role. Now, if you watched my last video, I talked about the different contribution types that we need to fill each different opening that we have, and that wide receiver 2 is an immediate impact player. So I think free agency is the way to go to make sure that you are getting that impact player that can come in from day one for you. So we are going to start off by taking a look at who would be the biggest impact player on this list. So let's start off by taking a look at Chris Godwin. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of info on each of these players, and then Sean, I can kind of get your perspective. You can let me know what you think as well. You ready to rock?
Yeah, I'm ready to roll, man.
All right. So Chris Godwin, 6'1", 208 pounds. So he fits the mold for having some size, but he has the speed to go with it as well. Great route runner. And he's only 25 years in age. So we'd be bringing in a guy that's still young, has plenty ahead of him as well. I think he's right about reaching his peak. May have a little bit of room to still grow, which is crazy to think because he's already such a solid player. He's played in 72 games in his career so far. He's been targeted 482 times. He's getting 5.1 receptions per game, 64 yards per game. And for his career, he has 29 touchdowns to his name. Sean, what do you think of Chris Godwin? How does he fit with the Chiefs?
I think he'd fit very well with the Chiefs. It was kind of a crowded bunch over there in the Bucs lineup there. You know, you had last year, obviously, 3 Pro Bowlers, and they were all trying to get fed. So he comes over to the Chiefs, you're going to see those numbers go up. You're going to see more than 64. There might be a little bit jump, maybe closer to 80. I'm thinking if he's a good number 2 receiver, and he could fill that role perfectly. And I also like him due to the fact that, you know, he had those hand injuries. He played right through it, and he wants to play through injury. So I love those intensive players that just won't sit on the sidelines trying to get paid. This guy's trying to make a contribution.
For sure. He's definitely like number 1 on my list, but if you ask me of likelihood, he's probably closer to the bottom of this list as far as what I think is likely. We have to look at this from a financial aspect as well. Yeah, he would come in and be an immediate impact player, super solid for the team and really help us out. But I don't know that we can afford him and still be able to fill some of those other spots that we need as well. So I like him, but money-wise, I don't know if it's going to be something we can afford. We do have some other guys on this list that are more affordable. The next guy we're going to talk about may be a little more affordable. He's coming off of what would be considered a down year for him in Chicago, and that is Allen Robinson. So Allen Robinson's still going to give us that size speed combination with him being 6'2", 220 pounds. Also young-ish, if you want to call him that. He's 28 years old right now. So you bring him in on a 3-year deal. You have him until he's 31. I think you have him through the end of what would kind of be his prime, and he would start his decline. Good time to detach yourself at that point. But he's played in 100 games in his career. He has 849 targets over those games. He is averaging 5 catches per game, 64.1 yards per game. And he's seen the end zone plenty of times. He's been in the end zone 40 times. So I think he's kind of 1B for me, Godwin and then Robinson. My question here is, how is his relationship with Nagy? Because Nagy is back as an assistant here with the Chiefs, being our quarterback coach. And he was the head coach for Robinson, and Robinson looked like he kind of mailed it in this past season. So do you think that with Allen Robinson and Matt Nagy, do you think there's a rift there, or do you think, hey, they're professionals, they can get through that if there was a rift?
Well, I don't know if it was relative or not, but yes, there was problems with both of them with the Bears. Allen Robinson, he did his time with the Bears. He was wanting to move on. He began uncomfortable. Whether it was because of Matt Nagy, I'm not too sure. Matt Nagy, exactly, his time was done. He had his opportunities there in the playoffs, and I'm sorry for those field goals that happened and whatnot, but that was his window. Things were on a decline. From that point on, they didn't see it progressing any after that, so they decided to move on. It's cool that the Chiefs got Matt Nagy, and he's from Andy Reid's family and whatnot. But here's the thing. If Allen Robinson and Matt Nagy get back together in Kansas City, that's going to be a whole new atmosphere. So maybe it'll be a whole new clean slate for him. And hopefully it wasn't all about Matt Nagy when it comes to Allen Robinson, because I'd like to see him over here for his last few years of his career. He's been a solid player, but lately he's just been quiet, and it was a real disappointing year for him when it comes to fantasy football.
Yeah, very true. I like him. I think he would be a good fit. I just don't know how well the culture would work out. And we have to see how much of a kind of paid decline we're looking at versus what would have been expected last year as well, which we'll look into. The next receiver I want to talk about, we have actually talked about, me and you, Mike Williams for the Chargers.
Yeah.
Now, again, there's a chance that Mike Williams doesn't hit free agency, right? Chargers could very easily re-sign them, and you actually touched on that. Like, let word get out the Chiefs are interested, and the Chargers are going to just start throwing all the money they can. That could happen, but if he does hit free agency, and we're looking at a 6'4", 218-pound wide receiver that not only is a deep threat, can catch the contested passes, but he's a good route runner as well. I think that's an underappreciated part of his game. Only 27 years old. So again, if we're looking 3-year contract, you got him till he's 30. Spot on. He's played in 72 games, had 393 targets. On average, 3.2 catches per game, so a little less on his catches per game. But yards, 50.9 yards per game. And 26 touchdowns for his career. So I think we're both on the same page of I would love to see him here, but we both feel like the Chargers are going to do what they can to retain him.
Yeah, unless I'd have to take a look at their salary cap. I doubt they have very many problems. Not too many teams in the NFL have salary cap problems. It's probably going to raise a little bit this year, but not by much. But here's what I'm getting at is, they got Keenan Allen. They've got their quarterback situation. They're going to have to get ready to pay Herbert. I'm not too sure how long of a contract he has signed or if he's on a rookie contract or not.
He's on his rookie deal. So he's this past year was his second year.
Yeah.
So he has year 3, 4, and then he was a first rounder, so a 5th-year option. So you have him for 3 more years on his rookie deal.
Okay. Well, there's still years to go with that, so they're not going to have to worry about too much with Herbert. But do you see anybody on the Chargers who they'd have to pay some big money to in order to make it a problem to sign Williams?
I think it's more about kind of where the Chiefs are as far as we don't necessarily have any guys that we need to pay right now, unless you want to consider Matthew as a, need to pay him. I don't look at it that way, but it's more about if they spend big money on him, do they have enough money to fill holes in the rest of the roster with talented enough players? So I think it's kind of that same scenario. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with their backfield. They've got some good talent over there, but nothing really solid for next year, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Next up, let's take a look at somebody that we have been rumored to the Chiefs have mid-season this past year with Odell Beckham Jr. Now, the issue here is the injury that occurred in the Super Bowl, so he likely won't be ready for the beginning of the year, so he would not be that immediate impact player that we would want. He'd be more of that future impact player, so we would have to utilize a McCole Hardman, or if we bring back Pringle or bring in any other kind of next tier wide receivers to kind of fill that role until he gets healthy. But if healthy, there's no doubt that as long as he's not in Cleveland, he's still a dynamic receiver. He stands at 5'11". I think he plays bigger than that, though. 198 pounds. He is 29 years in age. So I'm thinking if you do bring him in, you're probably only bringing him in on a 1-year deal.
Oh, yeah.
Plus with the injury, it's kind of a prove it deal. Hey, come back, prove that you're back from the injury so that us or another team can look at a contract for you moving forward.
Yeah.
His career state, he's played in 96 games, 880 targets. He averages 5.5 catches for 76.7 yards per game. And he has been in the end zone 56 times. So a lot of production, but also a lot of question marks when it comes to Odell. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I kind of hear the word red flag,
Yeah, I'm with you. So let's just move right along to another player that we've been linked to, especially last year at this same time last year, and that's JUJU SMITH-SCHUSTER.
Yeah.
We've talked about JUJU as well. JUJU standing 6'1", 215 pounds, younger guy, 25 years old. He's played in 63 games, 471 targets. He averages 5.1 catches per game, 61 yards, and he has 26 touchdowns in his career. So JUJU is kind of tricky because when he first came in the league, he was a number 2 to Antonio Brown, and really he showed out, right? He was lights out as a number 2. AB leaves, JUJU becomes the number 1, and kind of takes a step backwards at that point. And now for the last year or two, he's kind of been a number 1, 2, or 3 with Johnson and Claypool over there. So he did come back at the end of the year after his injury. So he's already kind of shown, hey, I am healthy enough to hit the field. Is Juju somebody you're still interested in for the Chiefs?
I'd like to see him a little bit more solid-minded. It seems to me that he kind of goes off the rails a bit, stomping on the 50-yard line of opposing players and trying to get some airtime on Monday Night Football by doing stupid antics. The Chiefs don't have time for that. That's another red flag player. Although I do like his profile, talking about how he's a great number 2 receiver. And that's the kind of receiver that I would love for the Chiefs to find is not a high profile number 1 receiver, but a good find of a number 2 pick that I don't want to say has an injury or a pre-existing circumstance or whatever, but maybe a bargain. What I'm saying is maybe he had a down year before, but not somebody who's going to ask for too much like an Odell Beckham Jr. If
Yeah.
Odell Beckham Jr. wants a little pay cut and can understand he's coming to the end of his career, somebody like that would be perfect, especially if he can pass the physical.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's definitely a spot for Juju on the roster. I think he does fit on the roster. I think his spot off the field is already taken. I think Jackson Mahomes already has that on lock. I don't think that Juju can come in and outdo Jackson Mahomes when it comes to TikTok.
I had to second guess myself. Like, did he really just say Jackson Mahomes? Did he mean to say that name?
Yeah, Jackson Mahomes gets a lot of criticism. Neither here nor there. Do your
Yeah.
thing, young man. People are going to criticize no matter what. So it is what it is. I don't think it affects Patrick on the field at all. So I am not that worried about it, guys. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Let me know if you guys are on the ban Jackson Mahomes and Brittany from the games. I'm not on that, but if you are, let me know. I'd like to chat about it and kind of get your perspective. But the next receiver I want to talk about as we kind of move down the list is DJ Chark. So Chark, 6'4" receiver, 198 pounds, 25 years old. He's fitting the build for your height, your size, your age. He's
perfect.
He gives you what you're looking for. He's played in 43 games, 265 targets. He averages 3.4 catches for 47.5 yards, and he's been in the end zone 15 times in his career. So less production from Chark, but you also have to look at who's been throwing him the ball.
Right.
Like, I don't even care who is throwing the other guys the ball. It doesn't get any worse than what Chark has had at quarterback for the most part, outside of a 3-game run that Minshew Mania took over.
Yeah.
Outside of that, he just hasn't had quarterback play. So I look more into the potential and what he could be with a Patrick Mahomes and playing alongside a Tyreek Hill, a Travis Kelce. He hasn't had any of that, even close, in his career. So I think we're looking at a less expensive option. Do you feel that Chark could give you the same production that you could be getting out of somebody like Juju or Odell or even Mike Williams?
He definitely has the potential, but also he had his chance there in Jacksonville. He was kind of crowded with some receivers there beginning, and then he got his chance to be the number 1, but he had that injury, and we never really got a chance to see what he could do during the full season. But from what we did see, this guy is a fantasy stud. This guy's going to score you points, which means he's going to get yards and points on the scoreboard for your team as well. So bring that on over to the Chiefs. I swear, if this guy's ready to go, that could be our diamond in the rough right there.
I agree, it could be. We do have a couple more guys to talk about, including one that I think could be a diamond in the rough that is completely under the radar right now. But before I get to him, another guy that we've talked about, Michael Gallup.
Yes.
Also, I feel like he hasn't necessarily had his moment to shine because of the other receivers that have been on his roster. So Gallup, 6'1", 205 pounds, young as well, only 25 years old. You guys kind of notice a theme of younger guys that I think we should be looking at. He's played in 55 games. He has 348 targets. Per game, he averages 3.5 catches for 52.8 yards, and he's been in the end zone 15 times. So he kind of fits that same mold, in my opinion, of DJ Chark, of kind of a slightly unproven, but we've kind of seen it. But there could still be a lot of potential left.
Yeah, and doesn't he fit that mold of the Legion of Zoom? Doesn't this guy have a lot of speed to him, Gallup? His last name sounds like it.
He has above average speed. He has great footwork. You guys heard me say I think he's amazing around the sidelines. Okay. Think of a bigger but slightly less explosive Tyler Lockett.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good way, because both of them are great with their toe drag swag. If you want to Nate Burleson this one, around the sideline, good speed, good vertical threat. So for sure. The last guy I want to talk about is my kind of completely under the radar, and this is I'm looking at this. If the Chiefs don't look at this number 2 receiver as big of a need as what we look at it as, and they just want somebody that can come in, and they're saying, hey, we need immediate contributor, not necessarily immediate impact player. And it's Allen Lazard from Green Bay. Now, I'm a fan of Allen Lazard. I don't think he's like some stellar player, but he fits the mold of being something different for the Chiefs. Lazard is 6'5", 227 pounds, and only 26 years old.
He's really that big?
Yeah.
Why did I think that he came out from a secondary college, or and was probably, I'd say, 5'11", 180?
Lazard's a beast, man.
Wow.
He's like a small tight end kind of. He's played in 42 games, 159 targets, 2.6 catches per game, 34.5 yards, and in his career he has 14 touchdowns. So the production isn't huge, but we also know Aaron Rodgers has had his favorite with Devontae Adams. He's going to look at him 4 out of 5 times. The other guys just kind of get sprinkled in. So Lazard, to me, he's an interesting option because he brings a different dynamic to this team. And you're not looking at breaking the bank or anything like that for an Allen Lazard, but you're really adding a new dimension to the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but would he fit an immediate impact player role?
That's what I say. So I think we need an immediate impact player.
Right.
Brett Veach, Andy Reid may look and say, we just need an immediate contributor.
He would definitely fit the immediate contributor. He would definitely do that. He might even do more than that. That's why I ask, is because I'm thinking with his size, the Chiefs haven't been able to actually use somebody with that size who can actually be a deep threat as well. So with his cheapness and availability, hey, you're not lying. That could be the route we want to go.
I know. That's why I was like, I have to put him in here, even though he's not talked about at all. There's a certain level it does make sense. So let me actually show you guys all of these players, production from last year. I'm not going to go over it in depth, but I do want to talk about what the expected salary is for these players. So in free agency, how much money do we think these players will be looking for per year? I'm just going to give you a quick rundown, just write down the list that I have here. So, and this will put all of it kind of into perspective for you as well, Sean. Godwin, $18 million per year. To put that in perspective, we're thinking Tyreek Hill is going to get an extension sometime fairly soon, this offseason or during the season. And I think that'll be somewhere around the 20 to 23 million per year. So do you bring in a number 2 receiver that's making $2 million less than that?
Absolutely not.
That's exactly right. That's why I said I think he's low on our probability. Mike Williams is expected somewhere around 15 million per year. So we're still a little pricey there.
Yeah.
Odell, the expectation's 12 million. Now that obviously could be dropping down considerably with the injury, and he may not even be ready for the start of the year. So let's take that one with a grain of salt for now, okay?
I'm not a fan anyway, so I'll take that as a grain of what's smaller than salt? Is pepper smaller than something? Whatever smaller. I don't know. A grain of a particle.
A grain of salt. I am with you.
There we go.
Juju, I think Juju would be around something similar to what he signed last year, about $8 million.
Mm.
Allen Robinson's another expensive one. I think 16 mil.
Really?
Kind of be his roundabouts. Yeah. Now again, having
Yeah.
a down year in his aspect, like maybe that drops down to 14, but it's not going to be like a huge difference. You
He's
have to
still
remember he is an elite receiver. You know what I mean? Gallup's expected to come in around the 13 million mark. Again, coming back off injury, that could drop down somewhere, 11 to 13. Chark, about 12 million. Right. So far, Juju is the least expensive at 8 mil.
Yeah.
Allen Lazard's expectations would be about 3 million per year. Which again, it's why I have to put him on this list, because there are certain aspects of this that make sense. Right?
Yeah.
You may be needing to spend money in other places, whether it be defensive end, corner, safety, linebacker, which we'll be talking about linebacker here in a little bit as well. So out of that list, Sean, we kind of touched on different aspects of each player. If right now you had to make a choice and you had to fill the Chiefs' number 2 wide receiver role, is it Godwin, Williams, Beckham, Juju, Robinson, Gallup, Chark, or Lazard?
Top 3. Number 3 would be Gallup. Number 2 would be Chark. And I'm thinking number 1 would be Allen Lazard. Yes, Juju gets left out. You know what? Out of all this, I see Juju coming to the Chiefs before any of them because of that good price. But with these top 3, you can't go wrong with these either. And I'm sticking with that, being Allen Lazard. I think
I sold you on Lazard, huh?
Yes, you did, because he's not going to be a big voice in the locker room to where it's going to be disruptive, saying, I'm not getting the ball. You remember when McCole Hardman on the sidelines? You can't blame him because everybody wants the ball. But he just seems like, to me, he would just fit right in and not be a big-headed guy like wants to be a number 1 next to Tyreek Hill. We don't want that. We want you to fit right into that second spot. And those and it just happens to be the cheap guys. Go figure.
Yeah. I think my number 1 on this list, because I do take money into consideration quite a bit. Juju would be number 1 on my list. I think we're getting the most production for the value of the money. Michael Gallup, I'm willing to spend a little extra because I think his upside is tremendous. And Lazard is my number 3. I think the value you're getting it really allows you to really go all in other positions, because you didn't have to spend as much money on that number 2 wide receiver. And honestly, if we bring back Pringle and our 2, 3, and 4 are in whatever order, Lazard, Hardman, and Pringle, I think that we can most certainly make that work on this Chiefs offense. So I think that's a good look. Next, we're going to take a look at some of the draft prospects that I think the Chiefs could be looking at wide receiver, and we'll do that right after this. Special announcement. We are going to be running a contest here on Stadium Drive Sports for one of our viewers to get an opportunity to come on and be a guest on the 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive with myself, Kevin Britton, and we can sit down. We can talk Chiefs. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, please send an email to stadiumdrivesports@gmail.com. In the subject line, put 12th Man Fan, and then let us know why you want to come on the show and if you have a specific topic that you would like to discuss. Again, that email address is stadiumdrivesports@gmail.com. Get your entries in now, and we look forward to chatting with you. All right, guys, welcome back. So now we're going to take a quick look at wide receivers that the Chiefs could be targeting early in the draft. And when I say early, I'm talking, top 100 or 102, if you will, picks in the draft that I feel could come in and be an immediate impact player for this team. So we're going to kind of do a quick rundown. Not going to go too much in depth right now, but I do want to be able to give you guys some names to really keep an eye out for as the combine is getting ready to occur this upcoming week. So some players that we need to keep our eye on. So starting off, we have Drake London, wide receiver out of USC, who stands at 6'5", 210 pounds, projected first rounder. So a bigger body wide receiver, but still has some flashes of speed as well. Traylon Burks out of Arkansas, 6'3", 225 pounds. Not quite as tall, but a bigger, stockier receiver. Can do a little bit of everything. Still a first round grade on Traylon Burks. Jamison Williams out of Alabama. You guys have probably heard me talk about him coming back from an injury. May not be ready immediately for the season, but a future impact guy that is an absolute stud. He can basically do everything on the field and do it all at a high level. 6'2", 189 pounds, projected mid to late round first. Next is Chris Olave out of Ohio State at 6'1", 181 pounds. Probably the best route runner in this class out of everybody. Projected first round pick as well. Jahan Dotson out of Penn State, more of a speed guy at 5'11", 181 pounds. Projected first rounder, I could see him slipping into the second round as well. Wan'Dale Robinson out of Kentucky, also 5'11", 185 pounds. Again, that guy that's got a little more speed to it. Second round projection on Robinson. Cincinnati wide receiver Alec Pierce, 6'3", 213 pounds, is a third round projection, along with George Pickens out of Georgia, also standing 6'3", a little more slender with 190 pounds to him. And last on the list, David Bell out of Purdue, 6'2", 210 pounds, and a projected third round pick. Now with the combine coming up, it's going to be very important for some of the explosive drills for these guys. And really, I mean, the highlight of the combine, the 40-yard dash, see what these guys run. Are some of the what we consider more possession receivers, do they have more speed than we anticipated them having? And really, I think that's going to be the difference on going early or waiting a couple rounds and maybe going later, or just doing free agency and not really having to address it in the draft. What do you think, Sean? Kind of going through those prospects, and we talked about all the different free agents. Would you be looking free agency, or would you be looking towards this draft class to help fill that number 2 spot?
Well, we did have a lot to talk about with the wide receiver free agency. The list is pretty long, and there are some options out there. As you said, that there are some good picks there in the first draft if we really want to move up in the draft or not. We have been movers in the draft in the past. It would be nice to see the Chiefs actually keep their picks this year, to tell the truth. Now, if we use our picks on a wide receiver, I think that it would be key that he'd be a good route runner, because I mean, well, you can't teach speed. It would be nice for him to be a fast guy, and we'll see that at the 40-yard dash and whatnot. When they say pump your elbows faster, you can't really teach speed. You either have it or you don't. We can teach him to run the routes a little bit better, but that all-around raw talent to make them cuts and run them routes, Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to work with them very well, even at a young age. So I think it would be key to look at the draft for maybe one good pick, if we can get it. If we can get one of those names that you mentioned, go ahead and jump on it. And if not, then we can look at maybe free agency after the draft. That's what I would like to see.
Okay. One other name to throw out there for you guys that are going to be paying attention to the combine is Sky Moore. Sky Moore is going to probably be off the charts at the combine, and he's going to move his stock up. I think he's going to get himself up into the third round, second round type of discussions. I have him right now as like a late third rounder, but I think after the combine, I think he's going to just go flying up the board as well. Now, Sean, we were supposed to talk linebackers as well, but it's looking like we're about out of time, man. I don't think we can get to linebackers today.
I said there was a long list of good free agent wide receivers, and it was a good conversation. And it'd be interesting to see where all of them go.
Absolutely. I will talk about linebackers for you guys. I promise there are plenty of linebackers that I'm very interested in. A lot of them are second, third round type picks that I think the Chiefs could definitely look at that third linebacker spot. My fingers crossed. There's a couple of guys I'm very interested in falling to the third round for us. And I will tell you who those are in our upcoming video. So make sure that you guys continue to stay tuned. every Sunday and Wednesday for the 12th man at Arrowhead Drive, right here on Stadium Drive Sports for all of your Chiefs content. If you guys did like the video and you guys like what we're doing here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, and hit that thumbs up. Like this video. Let us know you're enjoying what we're doing, and leave a comment down below. We definitely want your feedback and your interaction. I try to reply to any comment that gets posted because I really just want to get to know you guys and kind of keep you in the loop and get your feedback. I like to know what you guys think as well. Sean, I appreciate you joining. Let them know where they can find you one more time.
Oh, absolutely. You can always find me every Monday and Thursday here on the Royal Way on Stadium Drive Sports.
Absolutely. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kev.